The story started with a silence that had lasted for years. A silence so heavy that fans had begun to whisper about it. In the world of gospel music, where respect and connection between artists were often celebrated, the absence of any bond between Shirley Caesar and Leandria Johnson stood out. Shirley Caesar had been a pillar of gospel music for decades. The First Lady of Gospel, a voice that carried authority and faith through generations. Leandria Johnson was the opposite. A storm of raw talent, real struggles, and open honesty. She had risen to fame in 2010 after winning Sunday Best. And her unfiltered nature drew fans who saw themselves in her pain and passion. Yet, as her name grew, controversy followed her closely. She had spoken against religious hypocrisy, admitted her battles with alcohol, and sometimes used language that shocked the church world. She was authentic, but that honesty made her a lightning rod for criticism. Fans couldn't ignore how the two women seemed to live in separate worlds. Shirley Caesar represented tradition, dignity, and the polished face of gospel. Leandria represented a new voice, raw and disruptive, willing to speak what others wouldn't. Over the years, people noticed that Leandria would praise and honor other gospel legends, but Shirley's name rarely came up. On the other side, Shirley, who often celebrated rising artists, kept her distance. That distance turned into questions. Was there tension? Was Shirley disapproving of Leandria's approach? Or was it simply two artists walking their own paths without crossing? Whatever it was, that silence became louder with every passing year. You won't believe how deeply this silence affected Leandria. She had built a fan base that loved her honesty, but behind the stage lights, she was struggling. Every headline about her mistakes added to her pain. She felt misunderstood and isolated, often wondering if she would ever be fully accepted in the gospel world. And even though she was bold and outspoken, deep down, she carried a quiet desire for validation from Shirley Caesar, the woman who had set the standard for gospel greatness. But Shirley remained silent, and fans only grew more curious. Was this silence a sign of disapproval, or was it just the result of different worlds colliding? This is where it got interesting because the tension wasn't fueled by drama, but by unspoken words. Leandria's story was unlike any other. She was not polished or rehearsed. She came into gospel music barefoot, broken, and unapologetically real. Her struggles were public. Her battles with faith and life laid bare for everyone to see. People who felt unwelcome in traditional church spaces saw hope in her. But this same transparency created controversy, especially among older gospel figures who believed in discipline and structure. Shirley Caesar was from that older generation. She built her career with respectability, dignity, and tradition. Values she never compromised. She has survived her own share of criticism early in her career, but she did so quietly, choosing to stay focused and dignified. The contrast between these two women was striking. Leandria was fire. Shirley was grace. Leandria was public pain. Shirley was quiet strength. And somewhere between them, there was an invisible wall. What makes this story different is that this wall was never officially spoken about. Neither Shirley nor Leandria said anything negative about each other. There was no public feud, no scandal linking them together, only a deafening silence that fans could not stop talking about. People began to create their own stories, comparing Leandria to Shirley and calling her a modern-day version of the gospel queen. Some fans even said she could be the one to carry Shirley's legacy forward. But those comparisons only added to the pressure, especially because Shirley never publicly endorsed or encouraged her. It was as if Leandria was reaching for someone who remained just out of reach. And the craziest part, even with all this tension, Leandria deeply respected Shirley. She looked up to her as a trailblazer, someone who had opened doors for women in gospel music. Yet, she never found the courage to tell her. Fans could feel that something was brewing. Every time Leandria spoke about her struggles with the church world, people wondered if she was speaking indirectly about the lack of support from older artists. And every time Shirley praised other young artists, people noticed Leandria's absence from those acknowledgments. It became a quiet topic in gospel conversations, a question nobody could answer. Why were these two powerful women so distant? This story was building, and no one knew that destiny was about to take an unexpected turn. Leandria's silence finally broke one evening when she decided to speak straight from her heart. And it wasn't a carefully written statement or part of a planned performance. It happened during a live moment, a raw outpouring of emotion that caught even her closest supporters by surprise. She began speaking softly about the pain she had carried for years. The pain of feeling like an outsider, even in the very world she loved and served. Her voice cracked as she confessed that she often wondered if legends like Shirley Caesar even respected her. She admitted she had hesitated countless times to reach out because she felt unworthy of the honor. That moment was so unexpected that it silenced everyone listening. It wasn't just a tribute. It felt like a confession, a cry for understanding, and a window into the heart of a woman who had been misunderstood for so long. She called Shirley Mother Caesar and spoke about how many times she wanted to pick up the phone and simply say thank you, but never found the courage. She explained that every time she thought of Shirley, she felt both admiration and fear, worried that her own reputation and controversies might have caused disappointment. Leandria's voice trembled as she admitted that Shirley was one of her biggest inspirations, a silent motivator through the hardest seasons of her life. "Every time I wanted to quit, I thought of you," she said, tears rolling down her cheeks. "If Shirley Caesar could face criticism and still stand strong, then maybe I can, too." Her words weren't polished, but they were powerful. You won't believe how those sentences touched the hearts of people listening. This wasn't a performance. This was a woman pouring her soul out in front of the world. Fans who had followed her career for years were left in shock because they had never seen her this vulnerable. Many said they felt as if they were witnessing something sacred, a younger artist opening her heart to a living legend. And yet, what made it even more powerful was that Shirley had not yet responded. Nobody knew if Shirley was listening, but people hoped she was. In that moment, Leandria wasn't just speaking to Shirley Caesar. She was speaking to every person who had ever felt invisible or rejected. She was proving that even those who seem bold and outspoken often carry silent wounds. The message spread quickly, and soon social media was flooded with reactions. Fans reposted the emotional clip with captions like, "This is the healing gospel music needs," and "Finally someone is breaking the silence." Others were shocked that Leandria had carried this weight for so long. Many began tagging Shirley Caesar, pleading for her to respond. But here's the shocking part. While most tributes in gospel music are celebrated quickly, this one felt different. This was not a simple thank you from one artist to another. This was a moment that exposed a deeper truth about the gospel industry, about how younger voices often crave validation from legends they admire but are too afraid to approach. As the days passed, speculation grew. People started asking hard questions. Why did Leandria feel this way for so long? Why did Shirley never publicly acknowledge her before? Was there a tension, or was this just a case of two women walking separate paths? No one had answers, but the conversation grew louder. What makes the story different is that it wasn't about drama or rivalry. It was about vulnerability. Leandria's message was like a mirror for the gospel community, showing how fame, respect, and admiration can sometimes be overshadowed by silence. The craziest part was that this emotional confession didn't just spark sympathy. It stirred anticipation. People were waiting for one thing: Shirley Caesar's response. Would she remain silent, or would she finally speak out? Nobody knew at that point, and that uncertainty made the story even more gripping. The anticipation was growing, and it felt like gospel history was about to witness a turning point. Everyone's eyes were on Shirley Caesar, and Leandria's words hung in the air like a question waiting to be answered. What came next would change everything. When Shirley Caesar finally responded, it felt like the entire gospel world stopped to listen. For years, people had tried to guess her thoughts about Leandria Johnson. Some believed she admired her, while others thought she disapproved of her controversial style in outspoken ways. Shirley had built her reputation over 7 decades as a woman of grace, wisdom, and restraint. So her silence over the years only made people more curious. But this time she chose to speak. And when she did, her words carried the weight of history, experience, and love. Shirley began by admitting something nobody expected. She had been watching Leandria from a distance for a long time. She said that while she might not have agreed with everything Leandria had done or said, she never once doubted the anointing God had placed on her life. "When I look at you," Shirley said, "I see a piece of myself when I was young. People judge me, too. They said I didn't belong. They didn't like my style, but God still used me. Those words sent chills through fans because they revealed a side of Shirley Caesar that many had never seen. This wasn't judgment or criticism. This was understanding. It was as if Shirley reached across the generational gap to remind Leandria that every great journey comes with